Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in. So in this video we are going to take a close look at the Sinden computer controller, or known as the light gun. So these products have been sent in for purpose to review, and just to check them out, are they even worth picking up? Take consideration, even like people send me stuff, that doesn't mean I'm going to be very positive, because if it's not good, oh boy, I'm going to rip it apart. I grew up with the light gun, especially with the PlayStation 1 system. Already did some, let's say, nostalgia videos over here where we were going to take a close look at those. But nevertheless, we do have some limitations when it comes to these, let's say, older devices. Because you need a CRT to begin with. And Sinden basically solved that problem, so you can play all your old school games again on your TV. I got two controllers over here, or two light guns, but this is basically the red version with the recoil built in. This means there is a piston that makes a lot of noise, gives more the arcade feeling. But when we're going to play some House of the Dead and we just have the recoil, it's just pure satisfaction and gives a little bit of the arcade feeling. And then of course not to forget the way how you can reload with the tiny pump reload at the bottom part. I think it's absolutely a very cool experience. If there's something I really hate, if I'm going to get myself two different light guns. Yeah, so that is something I asked hey, can you send me the same ones? I would be cool to make a review about, let's say, the recoil version and the non-recoil. But again, if you're going to actually play this on the long term, yeah, it's going to be quite annoying because who gets the recoil? You know, the situation, back in the day, you're always going to give somebody else the second controller. It was a B or a aftermarket brand, or you know what I'm going with this. Yeah, so I wanted to have the same kind of controllers, only two different colors. So what I understand of, there are basically three kind of, let's say, colors you can pick up. The blue and the red one, and then we're having the black edition. I must say I personally really like it. For me it was a very difficult choice which color I want to have, but for me the red and the blue is a little more arcade feeling that I had with some of the arcade machines back in the day. But nevertheless, I did try the non-recoil version, and I can tell you it plays just as fun like the recoil version. But again, you don't have the clicking sound, and the experience in overall is slightly different when it comes to the one with the recoil. But again, it's more a personal thing which one you should pick up. That is something that you need to decide. It's more can you make some noise, or you can't, because you heard it already, it makes a lot of noise. Another color we're having is the blue version over here. I personally really love blue. Blue is my favorite color. But the thing is, how is actually this thing playing? So the thing is, without a recoil, I think it's also a different, let's say, experience. But for the people who just want to have a light gun and just want to have not all of the noise, I completely understand. So we're going to get ourselves the D-pad over here. They can configure in your emulators. Two side buttons over here, and at the right we're going to get another two. I really love these buttons. Give it a very nice touch to it. The trigger is a very nice clickish micro switch underneath. I personally really love it, the way how it feels and how it holds. And again, the pumping of the shotgun, one of my favorite features of this thing. If you're going to play, let's say, in House of the Dead, you want to play it like that, or you can just give it some different, let's say, features. But let's talk about that. But a great example is when you're going to play some Time Crisis, you do need a pedal or at least pressing a button for getting into the action. This game has been configured with the, let's say, shotgun loading. I think it's a very cool, convenient way to play like that. The first controller I ever owned, or the light gun, was the Namco one with Time Crisis 1. I did a video about this, and I must say it was such a blast to the past with this thing. And when you're looking at the Sinden, it looks kind of similar in some ways. I must say when you're looking at the comfortability, they even improved it with the Sinden, where you have a very flat surface over here. It doesn't is holding it very, let's say, poorly. It's just these tiny things they improve. Have some curves over here, and you have just a little bit better grip. Of course, this doesn't have any recoil whatsoever, so when it comes to the weight, it's weighing almost nothing. And again, that can be very comfortable for some people who don't like to have a very heavy gun. Later on we're going to do a side-by-side comparison when it comes to, let's say, the weight. But again, it gives you an idea, I already mentioned, this thing is better and more comfortable, but it's also very heavier. If you don't want to have the heavy part, I think you need to buy one without a recoil, because it will save up a lot of weight. In feature the Sinden doesn't have is the recoil. like the old school games. I also did a video about this real arcade gun in combination with Time Crisis. It was a lot of fun, and as a child I also owned this. I think it was a little bit of the end of the lifespan of the PlayStation. Everything was getting dirty cheap and I picked it up for not a lot of money. And as a child I had so much fun with this. Like, it gives a little bit of an arcade feeling. Of course it's not like the same recoil like the, let's say, original light guns back in the arcades, but it was like absolutely better. When you're listening to this like trigger button, it feels so cheap compared with the Sinden light guns. Like, the feel is both not bad of course, but it is so different. But again, the real arcade gun, they just make a full video about it, and it was so much fun also playing with this. And again, when you're comparing it with the Sinden, it's just like a different experience. And again, oh boy, and this thing makes a shitload of noise. I don't know if you need to be happy with that. To giving you like a little bit of a weight comparison, here we're having the original gun itself, and this thing weighs around, let's say, 245 grams. So when you're going to get into, let's say, the real arcade gun, and this thing has a completely different weight. So here you can see this thing weighs 505 grams. So there's basically quite like a difference between the original, and now we're having the Sinden. Doesn't matter if you go to get yourself the blue and the red one. This thing weighs around 460 grams. So you can see like it's not heavier than the original one, but there is a significant difference. I don't have the non-recoil version, so I cannot really test it out for the weight, but I just wanted to give you a comparison with the ones I'm having here. But let's connect these devices and just see how they are actually working. How does it work and how does it play? So what you need to take consideration that we have like this webcam basically in the inside, this technology. So we do need to have like this white border around the display. I think it's not really annoying, but for the people who really hate it, you're not going to like it in the end. You will always hate it. The thing is, I'm curious how it will play, also the readout function and everything. We're going to test it out with the Pi today, so let's take a close look at it. But take consideration when you're going to play some light guns with the Pi, we are limited. And I mean especially when you're looking at some emulators for PlayStation 3, some more like say newer games. But that doesn't spoil the fun because there are so many cool titles where we can actually play now. There are so many cool games that I wanted to test it out, but I'm going to pick a couple of them because there are too many of them. So AN3, the gun game, is absolutely one of those classic ones. And they also like include a game called Confidential. That's absolutely a very fun game to play. The Crypt Killer is a very classic one. As you can see over here, we have like some mix of arcade and PlayStation 1 over here. So when it comes to, let's say, some shooting games, even on the Pi, there is so much stuff that can actually be added and played on here. Another one of my favorite is the point blank games, though they are like so freaking funny. I love the reloading of the bottom over here. But when we're going to play the Sinden light guns with a game like Terminator, you will notice this game is actually not the perfect fit for it. We have like this absolutely crazy solenoid that we have with the original arcades. You don't have the same experience when it comes to the Sinden, and I think it's a little bit of a bummer. So take consideration one of the limitations, in my opinion, with the Sinden. When you're going to use the light guns with a combination of normal gaming on the Raspberry Pi, we also have this application built in that we can choose what kind of configuration we want when it comes to recoil strength, if you want to have like a crosshair, and of course we need to boot up player 1 or player 2 before you can actually go to start playing. Okay guys, so this is basically what we're going to get with the Sinden light guns. I must say I am quite positive about it, but of course everything in life has positive and negative side, and it also includes for this thing. So when you're looking at this, it's absolutely like a very cool piece of equipment that you can get. It's still one of those like affordable ways to play, because there are like other options out there, but they are like very expensive. And I think it's like a very cool thing, including like I already mentioned in the beginning of this videos, the shotgun like feeling reload. I really love it. It's one of my favorite features. That recoil like sounds and feels great. I really love the way how the trigger works. But in overall, like, we have enough buttons for every single function in some games, arcades, whatsoever. Let me know in the comments, what do you think of the light gun? I think it's a very cool feature. Only thing is, like, with the lighting, you need to be careful. If you're having too bright of a room, it's very difficult to use these things. A little bit of a downside to it. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing, hit that little bell. And it would be great to see you in the next video.